Not a single person knows the boundaries of our universe, but whether or not it has a limit, it harbors many mysteries and oddities. Scientists from all over the world are busy studying objects that continue to expand our knowledge of the structure of the universe every day. Sometimes in their studies, they stumble upon very strange objects that contradict at first glance the known laws of creation. Let's learn about the strangest objects in the universe. Dark matter. Dark matter, one of the greatest mysteries in modern astrophysics, is a hypothetical matter that is impossible to see with telescopes. Nevertheless, it's believed that about 85% of the matter in the universe is dark matter. It does not emit electromagnetic radiation of sufficient intensity to observe, but can be observed by its gravitational effects. As we know from the laws of gravity, the rotation speed of galactic objects and clusters of galaxies depends on the distance to the center of mass and the distribution of mass inside. Comparing the known formulas and astronomical observations, a paradoxical result was obtained. The masses of galaxies are much larger than we see. Quasar. A quasar, classified as the so-called active galactic nucleus, is essentially an extremely strongly luminous disk of matter surrounding a black hole. Quasars are considered the brightest known objects in space, capable of shining 100 times brighter than the entire Milky Way. Giant water reservoir. An enormous cloud of water vapor, located about 10 billion light-years away, contains approximately 140 trillion times more water that is contained in all the oceans of the Earth combined. More precisely, we're talking about a shell surrounding the quasar and containing water vapor. The area around the quasar has a length of about 100 light-years. The environment of the quasar is unique because it contains a giant mass of water. It shows once again that water is ubiquitous throughout the universe, even in very early times. Giant ancient black hole. An international team of researchers made this discovery in 2015. A giant ancient black hole was discovered that supplied energy to the brightest quasar in the early universe, located 12.8 billion light-years away. The mass of the black hole itself exceeds the mass of our star by 12 billion times. And the energy taken by the quasar exceeds the solar one by a quadrillion times. The quasar itself appeared only 900 million years after the supposed Big Bang. According to all existing models, it's not clear how a black hole could gain such an incredible mass in such a short time. Pulsar. A pulsar is a dense, highly magnetized rotating neutron star that emits a beam of electromagnetic radiation. In the past, astronomers believed that the radiation that could be observed as it pointed toward Earth was an alien form of communication. In 2020, astronomers from the United States and Poland determined that the reason why this type of neutron star acts as a radio beacon is the interaction between the electric and magnetic fields near the object's surface. Rogue planets. Rogue planets, also known as wandering planets or quasi-planets, are objects with a mass comparable to that of a planet that have fallen out of their orbits and are traveling aimlessly through space. The closest rogue planet to Earth discovered to date is 7 light-years away. Almost nothing is known about the other such mysterious object, neither how it appeared nor what happened to its star. Scientists discovered that the planet is very young, only 12 million years old. It's a gas giant 6 times the mass of Jupiter. This celestial body is located at a distance of 80 light-years from Earth. Scientists have never seen an object like this fly freely in space before. The planet can be observed using a telescope. According to experts, the surface temperature is plus 885 degrees Celsius. Hot ice planet. The hot ice planet, officially known as Gliese 436b, is a Neptune-sized exoplanet that orbits the red dwarf Gliese 436. Although the planet's temperature reaches plus 439 degrees Celsius, its water surface does not evaporate. Instead, the molecules form a kind of hot, highly compressed ice. Pillars of creation. The Pillars of Creation, which resembles a painting from a sci-fi landscape, is actually a photograph taken by the Hubble Space Telescope in the Eagle Nebula, located 7,000 light-years from Earth. The pillars, composed of cooled molecular hydrogen and dust, are essentially the seeds of new stars. The objects were named the Pillars of Creation because the gas and dust in them are involved in the formation of new stars with simultaneous destruction of clouds under the light of already formed stars. Shooting star. Everyone probably knows that what we call shooting stars are actually meteorites falling through the atmosphere. However, shooting stars do exist. For example, Mira is a red giant that falls through the galaxy fast enough for this star to develop a tail similar to the one we see on comets. Astronomers were quite surprised by the fact that Mira has been studied for 400 years and so far no one has noticed any oddities in it. However, the explanation was quite simple because no one had ever observed it in the ultraviolet. The detected tail extends in space as much as 13 light-years, which is almost 3 times more than the distance to the nearest star to the Sun, Proxima Centauri. Diamond Planet. The Diamond Planet, officially known as 55 Cancer E, has a mass 7.8 times that of Earth. It's believed that this planet contains vast deposits of coal, possibly in the form of diamonds. According to Forbes calculations, this planet could be worth about $27 nonillion. That's 27 with 30 zeros. The giant diamond planet was once part of a binary star system until its partner began to devour it. However, the star could not carry its carbon core with it, so the carbon simply turned into a diamond under the influence of high temperature and gigantic pressure. With a surface temperature of 1,648 degrees Celsius, the conditions were almost perfect. 1/3 of the planet's mass is a pure diamond. While Earth is covered with water and is abundant in oxygen, this planet is composed of graphite, diamond, and several silicates. Frozen star. While most of the known stars are very hot, for example, the surface temperature of the Sun is 5,600 degrees Celsius, a cold star has only recently been discovered. The frozen star, officially known as WISE 0855-0714, is a brown dwarf with a temperature ranging between -48 and -13 degrees Celsius. In 2016, astronomers at the University of California, Santa Cruz used the Gemini Observatory telescope to detect clouds of water and water ice in the star's atmosphere. Scientists at the University of Edinburgh calculated that the star's atmosphere has a layer 100 km thick, where temperatures are kept between -73 and -23 degrees Celsius, and the air density varies between 0.4 and 1.2 milligrams per cubic centimeter. According to them, this layer can give birth to an organic form of life. The largest Fermi gamma-ray bubbles. In 2010, astronomers discovered a rather strange phenomenon in data from the Fermi Gamma-ray Space Telescope. From the center of the Milky Way into the surrounding space burst 2 giant spherical structures about 50,000 light-years in size. These formations are visible only in the range of gamma-ray radiation. The nature of the bubbles is still unknown, but scientists speculate that they may have formed as a result of the activity of a supermassive black hole in the center of the Milky Way. At the dawn of our galaxy's life, its active core emitted streams of plasma, the so-called jets of relativistic jets. Probably the Fermi bubbles are a particular trace of these flows. Aerodynas supervoid. Most of us probably think of space as empty. However, with the discovery of quantum physics, we know that even space is not really empty, but contains small amounts of gas, energy, and virtual particles that appear and disappear. Therefore, it's still quite surprising to find areas of space that are almost completely devoid of all kinds of matter. The largest of these voids is found in the constellation of Aerodynas. It extends over an area of space equal to 1 billion light-years. Many physicists have put forward some very interesting theories about the origin of this void. One of them says that the void is an imprint of a parallel universe that was collided within the distant past. Another says that the area could be home to a black hole. Soap Bubble Nebula. A beautiful symmetrical nebula floats in the field of the constellation Cygnus. It was discovered only a few years ago, so it's not in many astronomical atlases. Most surprising is the shape and appearance of the nebula. It resembles a real soap bubble, and that is the nickname given to it by scientists. the nebula called Witch-Head Nebula. The real name of the nebula is IC2118. It is located in the southern constellation Aerodynas at a distance of 1,000 light-years from the Sun. The most surprising thing is its outline, which resembles a witch's head. We see the nebula because of the star Rigel. Due to its radiation, the outline of the witch's head is reflected and can be seen in telescopes from Earth. Conclusions. To summarize, let's say that the observable universe contains approximately 10 million superclusters, 350 billion large galaxies such as the Milky Way, 25 billion galaxy groups, and 7 trillion dwarf galaxies with trillions of stars. So, all this leads to the thought that many more strange objects in the universe remain unknown to us.